Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my channel. This is Josie's Point of View, where we focus on human interest stories from the Carolinas and beyond. Today it's Tuesday, and it's October the 3rd, 2023. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you're new to my channel, I want to thank you so much for stopping by. I hope you find the information here to be informative. And if you're a returning viewer, by all means, thank you for coming back. You know, I always say the tide changes so frequently here on these YouTube streets. So you always have to acknowledge where your support comes from. And I want you to know I sincerely thank you for your support. Feel free to like and to share this video. And don't forget to subscribe. Well, we're in the month of October, and this is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And as I shared in my previous video, the theme this year is Everyone Knows Someone. And this is so true because victims of domestic abuse and domestic violence are all around us, and many times we simply miss the signals. What we need to remember is that domestic abuse in general crosses all ages, all races, all genders, and all socioeconomic groups. And keep in mind, no one is immune, and abuse extends beyond the physical abuse. So just because you don't see the bumps and the bruises, it does not necessarily mean there's not a victim crying out for help. But before getting into our video today, I want to begin with a message of caution. The contents of this video just might be a bit distressing to some of my viewers. It just might be a bit triggering. And yes, it might just cause you to feel frustrated and angry. So as you walk along with me for the next few minutes, I want to encourage you to exercise a bit of caution. And feel free to take a few deep breaths and walk away if you must. And our story today comes from neighboring Cary here in North Carolina. Take a look at the headline. And it reads, Pregnant North Carolina woman found dead in burn pit. Suspect takes his own life. I'll provide you with a summary here, and as always, I'll place links to a few of the full articles in the description box. So let's begin with this home pictured here, located on Dorset Drive in Cary. It's a location that's well known to the local police, and I'm sure you're asking, well, why? Why is it well known to the police? Well, it's well known to the police because they had been to that home nearly 24 times over the past 5 years for numerous infractions, including drugs, armed robbery, and to serve a warrant. But the key is they had been to that location and they were familiar with the resident. And the resident of the home was this man pictured here, 35-year-old Ian Delauder. And at the time of this incident in March, the neighbors reported to police that the house was under renovation, so the occupants of the home had taken up residence in two campers that were located on the property. And on that particular day in March of this year, it was early on a Sunday morning, and the neighbors had called police in reference to trash being burned illegally because they had noticed large plumes of smoke coming from behind a tall fence at that property. And when the fire department arrived, while putting out the fire, they found human remains among a large quantity of trash in a homemade fire pit, and they contacted the police. So once again, police were back at the home. The home is in the spotlight, and this time it's because local police are on the scene for death investigation, and a gruesome death investigation, I might say. And I'm sure there were a lot of activities taking place. And while police was inspecting the property, if you recall, I mentioned there were two campers being used as resident. As they were searching those campers, they encountered the owner of the home, and he was clinging to life. You see, inside one of those campers was Ian Delauder, and he was suffering from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. First responders, they transported him to a nearby hospital for emergency medical care, but he did not survive. So here you have another death investigation, and this time it's a suicide. First, you have unidentified human remains, and the only way that was discovered was because a neighbor notified police of an illegal burn taking place, and then the homeowner takes his own life. Now, when the human remains were found, they were so badly burned that the gender of the person could not be determined. But 2 days later, police released the name of an individual as well as some of the gruesome details of what they found at that crime scene. The victim was identified as 34-year-old Cicely Ann Walker from Raleigh. But let us pause here briefly for a second and take a breath or two before we move on to the horrible details pertaining to the manner in which this woman was found. And again, this information just might be triggering for some of my viewers. So it was reported that when she was found, she was wearing sweatpants and a blue short sleeve shirt. When they found her partially burnt remains, they said she was covered with burnt trash, mulch, and a melted black plastic, believed to be the remnants of a burnt trash can. A bloodied rope was found tied around her waist, so she had no question she had been tortured. Some of her toes were missing, while others were badly burnt. The autopsy also revealed that she had a single gunshot wound to the head. It was also reported that the woman who suffered such a horrible death, it was revealed that she was also pregnant. There's no question in my mind that this woman encountered a very horrible experience that resulted in her death, and it simply breaks my heart. I know I forgot to mention one thing. Finally, police said she had cocaine and fentanyl in her body. I should also mention that police found another woman on the premises, but she was unharmed. Her identity was never disclosed, and I'm sure she was able to fill in some of the gruesome questions. But the end result or the conclusion is that Cicely Walker was murdered and her body disposed of in a homemade fire pit, and that's where police found her partially burnt remains. Police also concluded that the only suspect in the death of Cicely Walker was Ian DeLauder, and while police were searching the premises, Ian DeLauder took his own life. And as sad as it may seem, no one is going to face any type of punishment, and the family of Cicely Walker will never get the justice they deserve. You know, not every neighborhood will have a sanctioned neighborhood watch where policies are made and enforced. And in a large number of communities, we have to depend on good neighbors who will contact the police as needed, notifying them that something is just not right. Now, if this neighbor had gotten up on that Sunday morning and turned his eyes away from that troublesome house, the house where police was always visiting, had the neighbor not reported seeing a large fire on that property, this would have been a crime that went unnoticed. Now, after hearing the story, I promise never to say negative things about my neighbors, especially where in the past I have called them Nursey and a few other names I won't disclose here. But the fact is, because of that report, the family of Cicely Walker now have an opportunity to give her a final farewell. They may not have answers to all the questions that they currently have, but at least they have an opportunity to give her a final farewell. And so here you have it, another tragic case of domestic abuse. Cicely Ann Walker tied up, shot in the head, and her body burnt in a homemade fire pit. And there will be others. So I want to invite you to join me for my next video where we will continue to showcase victims of domestic abuse and domestic violence in the Carolinas. And that's all I have for you right now. Feel free to leave me a comment below and let me know what you think about this video. And by all means, feel free to like it and to share it. And if you haven't done so already, I want to invite you to subscribe to my channel by clicking on that red subscribe button. It's on the bottom right hand corner of your screen. And if you click on the bell that looks just like this one, that's a notification bell. If you click on that notification bell, you'll be the first to know whenever a new video is uploaded. I thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.